Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother Canada updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Emily Steele. Emily, thank you so much for your support. I hope you're having an awesome day. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so yesterday we left off with the feeds being down. The house guest had some sort of a task. I don't know what exactly it was, but there were some punishments there. Demetres has to wear a freaking bear costume for a few days. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. It sounds like there were also some ice dunks for Ika, Demetres, and Bruno. I don't know if that was a punishment or like part of the task, but it sounds like Jackie also got a slop pass, so that's a reward. Okay, so back to the game. Right now, we've got Bruno and Karen up on the block, and Karen's like, ah! Meanwhile, we've got Kevin trying to work on Dylan some more from Bruno. He's like, I want to keep Bruno really badly. And he says that the three of them could have a really tight bond again. You know, they were really good for a while, and then that whole week happened where Kevin didn't use the veto on Dylan and Emily, blah, blah, blah. So then Dylan's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. So, like, if you win HOH, would you put up Jamaica? And Kevin's like, I don't know. You know, it depends on how they vote this week. If they keep Bruno, I don't know if we can go after them. Also, if Karen's around next week, it's going to be really hard not to put her up. You know, after Karen called him an effing arrogant prick. That's a lot for BB Can. But also, no, that's it. So then William and Dre come in, and they break up that chat. It's going to be a very important chat later. Okay, so then Karen and Ika are chatting in the pink room, and Ika tells Karen, you are not going home. You have the votes to stay. So then Karen's like, bullshit. They have the numbers. And Ika's just like, who is they? I don't think Karen even knows who they is at this point. So then Karen wants to know why she went up on the block instead of Jackie. She wants some answers here. So Ika's like, well, Demetres and I never really discussed a replacement nominee because William said he wasn't using the veto. You know, we didn't expect this to happen with this secret POV. And then Ika's like, honestly, I think he just did it because it would have been too tempting to get rid of Jackie if she was up on the block. And then Karen was like, well, what about me? Like, isn't it going to be tempting to get rid of me? Karen, stop! Oh my god, she thinks she's like the biggest threat in the house. She thinks that she's going home against Bruno. And Ika's just like, girl? No. But Karen is still convinced that she's going home. Alright, so let's talk about William and Kevin. William is opening up more about the secret veto and his journey to discovering it. So he told Kevin about that robot arm that came out of the wall in the storage room. And Kevin went and investigated the storage room with Bruno. William, you're looking a lot like a side piece right now. Ugh. Alright, so then Kevin is talking to Ika about his discussion with Dylan, and he lets her know, like, he asked me if I was going to go after you and Demetres, and I told him that I would go after Karen if she stays, and I was just like, okay, okay. Apparently, Dylan also spilled that there was some sort of deal going on between Dylan, Demetres, Ika, and Dre. So Kevin's like, what's that all about? Like, you have a deal with him? And Ika's like, what? We just had like 1 week truce. Like, what? And Kevin's like, yeah, but like with 4 people? Like, what's that all about? So Ika's like, oh, I mean, we were trying to get something together, but like he didn't think it was serious and we didn't think it was serious. It was just like a show group or whatever. So cover that up. So then Bruno comes in and they tell him, like, you're gonna need to get Dre to trust you, because Ika says, like, if Dre's not on board with this, it's probably not gonna happen. You're gonna go home. And Bruno's just like, wait, why are you putting her over me? Like, you know me outside of this game. Like, why don't you trust me? And Ika's like, I've been working with Dre this whole time, and, you know, she hasn't lied to me yet. Little does she know that Dre is plotting behind her back. But anyway, she lets Kevin know, like, Dre is starting to trust you, but not really Bruno. So then Bruno brings up how Dylan is, like, talking about getting rid of Ika and Demetres. He's like, you realize that he wants you out, right? And Ika's like, yeah, well, Dre's trying to, like, smooth that over or whatever, trying to make a group of 4 work with us and Dylan. And Demetres, obviously. But yeah, that was not like a great conversation if you're Bruno. So then Bruno and Kevin were alone in the bathroom, and he's like, damn, after that combo, I don't think Ika's on board to keep me. It's not looking good. She's definitely putting Dre above him, and that's a bad sign for him. So he's like, if we don't have Ika and Demetres, that means I'm going to need 4 votes to stay this week, because you could stay with 3 if you have the HOH, because it is like a tiebreaker week potentially. But since he's not going to have Demetres, he's going to need 4 votes. So he's like, well, that leaves, of course, Kevin, Dylan, Jackie, and William for votes. That is a freaking ragtag group. So Bruno's like, this is going to be really difficult. And Kevin's like, it's all right, man. I'm going to campaign really hard. We still have a shot at this. And they're thinking maybe they can still get Damika on board if they can prove that Dylan is targeting them. Because they think maybe, you know, they'll keep Bruno so that they can all go after Dylan. We'll see. So then Ika was sharing some info with Dre in the HOH room, and she tells her how Dylan asked Kevin if he would target Damika, and you know, like, Dre has been having these conversations with Dylan. So she's in on that, but she's covering it up, and Ika also lets her know that Dylan spilled the beans about their group of 4 to Kevin, and she said that she tried to cover it up and say it wasn't for real, but she doesn't know if Kevin believed it. So they're wondering at this point if they can trust Dylan. Did he really say those things to Kevin, or is Kevin lying? Now Dre knows that's for real. Like, that is the truth. But then they figure, oh, Dylan's just floating towards the power now. He's like the male Jackie. And they decide we don't owe him anything. Like, if we have the chance to get rid of him, maybe we'll just take that. Okay. So then Kevin is working on the campaign for Bruno. He's testing the waters with William, and he's like, what would be better for your game? Keeping Bruno or evicting him? So William says, like, yeah, he would like to keep Bruno. He thinks it could be good for him, but he would feel really bad if he does keep Bruno and then Bruno turns around and, like, evicts Dre. He would feel really bad about that. So Kevin's like, I wouldn't let that happen, okay? If Bruno stays, he's going to go after Dylan and Jackie. Like, we're all going to be fine. So, you know, just let that sit. Just think about it for a while. Then they discuss how crazy Karen is acting. I think Kevin says he's not trying to play the victim, but I think he's definitely trying to get a little bit of sympathy from William here, because he doesn't want anyone hurting his Kevin Martin. So then William also lets Kevin know that he told Dre about the secret veto, but he doesn't want anyone else to know, so keep your mouth shut. Too late for that, because Kevin already told Bruno. Oops. So he gives him some more details on looking for the veto. And this was so ridiculous, because he's talking about how he had to follow all these clues and then go to the Forbidden Zone. And Kevin's just like, where's the Forbidden Zone? Oh my god. Are you serious? Come on. Okay, so a little bit after 9 p.m., Demetres got his bear suit, and it's pretty funny. Apparently, it's very, very warm in there. He's got these, like, huge feet that he has to wear. He's got these paws that I think he can kind of, like, take off and use his hands, but then he's got to put them back on. And he's got this headpiece as well, you know, a little, like, hat thing. So that's fun. But there's another element to this. So he has to sleep in this, like, cave setup in the backyard for 3 nights. I think it's 3 nights. That really sucks, because he's the freaking HOH this week. Like, HOH should not have to deal with these punishments, but this is Big Brother Canada. It's savage AF. So anyway, Dre and Dylan were chatting out by the hot tub, and Dre is getting really pissed at Karen because she's, like, constantly complaining, and she's trying to say that this situation is almost like an instant eviction because she doesn't even get to play for the power veto. That's what a replacement nominee is. Karen, are you freaking serious? It was okay when everybody else was getting replaced and evicted, and you're not even getting evicted. It's crazy. But Dre is so fed up with her. She says Karen is just as bad as everybody else. She tries to act like she's all great and she's, like, entitled and everything, but no! And Karen also is like, I don't want to be here with these people for the next 3 days, blah, blah, blah. But she calls herself a fan. And Dre is just so ticked off about that. So she says, like, I'm going to campaign this week. But it's because I want Bruno out. Not because I want Karen to stay. Because Karen sucks. So then later, Dylan lets Karen know, like, you're staying this week. But you need to chill the F out. Because you are pissing people off. And Karen's just like, rah. Alright. Meanwhile, we've got Bruno and Ika having a really long chat in the HOH room. I mean, they're pretty much just rehashing the whole entire season, talking through their game moves. They're all like, oh, well, I thought that this and this when this was happening and blah, blah, blah. You know, like that kind of thing. It definitely seems like this is Ika's way of saying goodbye to Bruno. You know, like when somebody's about to leave and they spill all their stuff and everything, or like it's the end of the game and they're all just talking about all their moves. It felt a lot like that. So it's not looking good for Bruno. But anyway, today, Ika and Dimitri's reunited after spending the night apart. And they were being all lovey-dovey. I think Ika's starting to catch some real feelings here. And it looks like they could date outside the house. I don't know. I don't really care. But I'm just saying there is, like, it seems like something changed. I don't know. In the last few days, it seems like something changed there. But they're talking about also how they're going to feel really bad when Bruno's evicted this week. Because they like him as a person, but they just can't trust him. So Bruno knows that he's in trouble. He was talking to Kevin. They were kind of assessing the situation here. He just doesn't think he's going to be able to get the votes. But maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to get Karen to self-evict. And they're like, if we could just work her up enough, she's going to freaking explode, implode, whatever, and then maybe I'll get to stay. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I doubt it. But anyway, they were talking about how Dre is in a really good spot right now. She's pretty much like the best placed house guest out of everybody. She's cool with everybody. Nobody's really coming after her hardcore. So they want to try and maybe work that angle with Ika and Dimitri's. We'll see. But Bruno wants to make sure that Kevin is set up all nice if he's the one leaving this week. And Kevin's like, come on, man. Don't give up hope yet. Alright, so then Dylan and Dre game chat in the bridge room. Dylan's like, let's go. It's game time. I'm ready to win HOH and take out Jamaica. And if we don't do this now, we're just letting them win. And we've seen these two talk about this before, but right now Dre's being really wishy-washy. She's been very back and forth about this. She'll be like all gung-ho about it, and then she's like, well, I don't want to do that to my friends. So she's saying, you know, she realizes that Dimitri's and Ika need her more than she needs them right now. So she's very much in the power position here. She's not happy that Ika won't own up to playing both sides. And she's saying that she wants to confront Ika about it. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Dylan is like, no, don't do that. Just like put her up and she'll get the idea. And then you can talk to her about it. But you don't want to be causing trouble right now when you don't have to. So we'll see if that actually happens. I don't know. But then today also Bruno is putting in work. He was talking to Ika and he's proposing a Final Four deal with the two of them, Dimitri's and Kevin. He's like, we'll get to the Final Four and then we'll go after each other. And she's like, well, can I trust you though to actually do that? And then Bruno brings up the point, you know, Dre is in the best spot in the house right now. And he's like, if you are up on the block against Dre, you're going to go home. Like, she's going to have the votes. If you're up against me, you'll probably stay. So, you know, you might want to keep the bigger target in front of you. And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. Bruno also says, like, if you keep me here, if you're up on the block, I'll vote for you to stay over anyone, even over Kevin Martin. I don't know about that. But Ika agrees. Like, everything Bruno is saying makes sense, and she gets that, but she doesn't feel like she can trust him. So, like, everything sounds really sweet, but she just can't pull the trigger on that. So then she's like, you need to talk to Dimitri's and see what he says. It's kind of like when you ask your parents for something and they're like, go ask your father, go ask your mother, go ask your father. It's like that. Alright, so then Bruno goes to the HOH room to talk to Dimitri's the bear, and he's like, Dimitri's, I want you to know, if you guys keep me this week, I'm not going to turn my back on the people who voted to keep me. That would just be dumb and stupid. So Dimitri's like, yeah, I get it, but like down the line, what are you going to do? Like, Dimitri's is nervous. If he is in the Final Four with Kevin, Bruno, and Ika, he's going to be freaking sitting there like some chump. Like, he doesn't think he can beat them, which I don't think is true, but he's worried about that. So then Bruno starts talking about the people in the middle who are just sitting around on their A's. I think that's a good angle to push with Dimitri's because he freaking hates that. Dimitri's has been busting his A all game while people like Karen and Dylan and all them have just been sitting in the middle. But, you know, even with that being said, it doesn't seem like this is really working. It doesn't seem like Bruno's going to have the votes. But There's still 2 days until the eviction. You never know what's going to happen. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Karen will be able to keep it together for the next 2 days? Let me know. And until tomorrow, much love.